Hey, what's up guys, Tactiholics here, and some guy commented on YouTube, literally some guy, commented on YouTube, sent us a message to our channel and said, hey, you guys ever done a dry fire video? No. What's your philosophy? Any good drills? What do you think about it? So we're here to talk about dry firing. There's no live ammunition present, no magazine in the gun, nothing in the chamber. So this is a completely safe environment for the sake of the fact we're talking about dry firing. There's a couple different ways to do it. I can sit on a sports team somewhere in the country. I think dry firing can be a very effective tool and system for sight alignment and sight picture and practicing that, maybe multiple targets if you're competition shooting, whatever that is, and working trigger control. I do not think that dry firing should ever be used as a replacement or chosen over live fire. Basically what I'm saying is if you have the opportunity to go to the range for a half hour and shoot 50 rounds or 20 rounds, 100 rounds, whatever that is, or you have the ability to dry fire for an hour and a half, go to the range for the half hour. That's where you're getting to work all these mechanics and fundamentals all at the same time with that recoil. Now, dry fire, again, sight alignment, sight picture, trigger control, grip, maybe unconventional shooting positions, working from a new holster or something like that. You're working, 90% of the fundamentals that we deal with when shooting a gun at any given time. Kind of allowing you to isolate and work on all these different mechanics so that when you go to the live range, the only thing left to introduce and kind of put into practice is that recoil. So it makes it kind of a manageable thing to attack the recoil after isolating and working on all the other fundamentals. But again, it should never be taken, in my opinion, over live fire. Let's go ahead and break down some different options here for dry fire drills. It depends on the gun that you're shooting. If you're shooting a striker fired gun, it can be a little bit more difficult. It can also be a little bit easier. What I mean is this is a double single action gun. I can dry fire this gun in double action without cycling the slide, without breaking my grip or anything. So that's outstanding. The problem is I'm only shooting the double action trigger pull. I'm only working on that. Being that the first round is double action, all my subsequent rounds are single action, there's a lack of consistency there. The only way to maintain this consistency would be to practice dry firing a double action round, holding the trigger back, racking the slide to single action, working that trigger reset, and then breaking the next shot. So I'm losing consistency with my grip, having to cycle the slide every time. With a striker fired gun, you can't cycle the trigger over and over. You break it, you have to cycle it, cycle the slide again, and then the trigger is able to reset. So again, you're losing some consistency with the grip. But let's kind of break down some different things here. Double single action. Double action only drills, if you want to work on smoothing out that double action trigger pull for the first bullet, you want to work on speeding it up, there's a couple different ways of doing it. I can sit here, get a grip, get a good sight alignment, and just slowly work this trigger back looking for no movement out of the gun whatsoever. Okay, just like that. That works. Another thing is working the trigger in stages of percentages. This comes from the guys I know a while back at the 6 Hour Academy. They were working on this. So I'll bring this close in here. If you watch the hammer and the trigger in double action, I want to work the trigger maybe about 1/4%, back it off. Work the trigger about 50%, back it off. About 75%, back it off. You're kind of learning a feel for your trigger and how much of that slack you can snap out of the trigger without firing the shot, giving you a very short pull from there, okay? And they actually do this with live rounds in the gun, so if they tell the guys on the line, take 50% of the slack out of the trigger, and they bring it back and actually shoot a bullet, now you're working too fast. You're taking too much of the slack out. Getting kind of complicated, but it's something you can do. And what that allows you to do is when you grab the gun, bring it out of a holster, you snap back, there's 100%. See what I mean? You snap back 90% of that trigger, just short press from there. So it can be an effective tool, but it's a little bit detailed. Single action, again, I like to always dry fire double action first, then cycle the slide to single action. Get a really good work on the reset here. So reset that trigger, break it right away back from single action, rack the slide again. I'll put both hands on the gun, but I'll do this to work my trigger reset. I'll always come up, reset the trigger, and break from there. Okay, so you're getting all the mechanics of the gun, sight alignment, sight picture, and you're working that trigger reset, that fine motor skill right there. So that's a little bit with double single action guns. Moving on to the striker fired platform, we have Nicole's freshly stippled, super sticky Sig 320 striker fired gun. Dry firing with a striker fired gun, again, you're going to get one trigger press out of it. The Sig 320 triggers, I don't know what works inside there to make it do this, but it does click again, but that's not actually moving the firing pin. So you cycle the slide, there's the firing pin dropping, cycle the slide, reset the trigger, you can hear it drop again. The trigger clicks a little bit, but I think it's just moving the trigger bar just a little ways inside the trigger group here. It's not actually dropping the striker. So for a striker fired gun, if you are dry firing, you need to cycle that slide every single time you want to work on that trigger reset or work on the next shot or whatever that may be. The bonus here is that you don't have to worry about working two different trigger pulls just like a double single action gun. That's why we advocate so largely the modern striker fired system. I'm shooting an antique, okay. But with this gun here, you're always working that same weight, same length of pull, all of those things, which is the beauty behind a striker system. So again, quite a bit easier, and I think dry firing with this goes maybe a little bit further because you're being a lot more consistent. But with that double single action, if you, let's say you just want to work on that double action trigger pull, you can just sit there and work the double action trigger pull without breaking that grip or anything, which makes that nice. So now, hopefully that explains a little bit as to how I said this is easier and more complicated for different reasons. Talking about dry firing or training with dummy rounds or training without live ammo in the gun, something you can do from your house. We've done a video on the SIRT pistol here from Next Level Training. I come back to this a lot when people ask me about dry fire drills. What this is watch our video to see kind of how the lasers are set up and what the pistol really does. But real quickly, in terms of practice, this gun lets you break the trigger and reset the trigger without cycling the slide. The slide on this is just a fixed piece of metal or plastic depending on the gun that you get. But this is weighted in size just like a full size, very close to a Glock. And they're actually making a full size M&P SIRT training pistol right now. The cool part about this is, yes, this is set up right now as a striker fired pistol. It's set at about 5.5 pounds, just like a Glock. The movement from the trigger and the throw of the reset is very close to a Glock, M&P, something like that. But these triggers are highly adjustable, so if you are a double single action shooter, you can turn up the poundage, adjust the break point, all these different things to kind of more realistically simulate that double action trigger pull, and you can tune them way down to like the 3 pound range, I believe, and shorten the throw for a single action pull replication. Now the problem there is it doesn't happen right in conjunction with moving a slide, so you work that double action poundage, you'd have to take the gun apart, make some adjustments, and then go to single action, so it can be cumbersome. But again, for a striker fired platform, these things are simple. The SIRT pistol is a great idea, a great training tool for getting dry fire-ish reps in, dry fire training practice. So another dry fire drill that's really common, it's not a bad idea, kind of a pain by yourself, but if you're doing it by yourself, it can force very smooth execution of movement on the gun. Is you got that quarter on you? I'm gonna have you come around here. Come on. All right, it's game time of a sports team somewhere in the country. That's my extent of my knowledge about sports. So, you're a quarterback, right? Get the football joke. Okay, so it's easiest if you have somebody else with you. You cycle the slide, get that trigger ready, practice good trigger discipline, keep your finger off the trigger, but get into a good shooting stance. Have that person set a coin on the slide, okay? Break the trigger without dropping that coin off the slide, all right? You can do that a few times. Come on back, we're not done. The game will wait. It's being DVR'd. You can also have them set it on the front sight. Now this is gonna force you to be very smooth on the gun. So go ahead and toss it up there. just like that. And whichever way that coin falls is going to be pretty indicative of what you're doing to the gun. You know, if you're twitching the gun down or you're kind of twisting it left or right, you know, the coin's going to slide off in different directions. Again, a little bit of a pain by yourself, but a very cool training tool, training tip that you can do at your home, and you're kind of paying yourself to train because you get to keep the quarter. Double single action guns. We can do the coin trick with this just like we did with the striker fired gun in double and single action. So let's go ahead and try this. Who's winning? By the time you guys see this, it'll be over, so we can't tell you who's winning. All right, go ahead and set it on the slide this time. Double action. Okay, so in double action again, you can get those seamless repetitions and really get some good consistent grips on the gun and stuff like that. So now we're going to go ahead double action on the front side of the gun. Now real quick, just to show you what can happen if you jerk the trigger, is you go ahead and set that coin on there, bring the gun up in front of you, and if you slam through the trigger just a little bit too hard, harder than that. Did you put glue on this? So if you slam through the trigger, you can see right there, it falls off. It really does help smooth out your trigger press. Same thing with single action though, but that's where you're kind of getting that feedback a little bit, as you can learn from which way the coin goes if it falls off the gun, what you're doing wrong. So single action, just the same. Bring the gun up, nice smooth trigger press, and that coin should sit right on top of the front sight for you. So these are just a few different ideas. You know, you could start simple with just dry firing and watching your sight alignment. You can work up to doing it yourself or having someone else help you with the coin on the slide or the front sight, all these different things. Or you can go, you know, drop a little bit of an investment in something like a SIRT pistol, which is going to do a lot more than just dry fire practice. And that's the only way to get seamless repetition of maintaining a good grip and everything on the gun. So breaking down dry fire, I don't think it's a bad thing. I hope this video helped. You've probably seen some of this stuff before, and that's just fine. I don't claim to invent any of these things. These are things that were taught to me a long time ago, and I still do them sometimes. Sitting at home watching TV or something, obviously a safe environment, no ammo in the gun. But ever since I got that pistol from Next Level Training, the SIRT pistol, that's kind of taken place of dry firing. So coming full circle, guys, like I said before, if you can get out to the range for a half hour and shoot 50 bullets, or sit at home and dry fire for an hour and a half, get out to the range. That's really where you're testing all these mechanics and working everything in real time. You know, dealing with the recoil, maintaining your grip under recoil. I mean, anybody can sit here with no recoil in the gun and maintain a grip. Once you start putting recoil into that gun, now you're finding out if things are working on the gun or if you need to tune things up. So you could be getting a lot of reps at your house dry firing. Go put some bullets in the gun and find out that all those reps were building on a grip or a trigger press or something that didn't work for you with recoil in the gun. Perhaps one of the biggest discrepancies that I've heard with dry fire training is the conditioning of the brain. You know, there's instructors out there, if you guys look around, that will say you don't ever bring the gun all the way up to extension unless you're going to press the trigger, because what you're doing is conditioning yourself to get that gun out of a holster, bring it up, and then bring it back. There's no bang, there's no pressing the trigger, there's no bullet coming out. So in a defensive scenario, a dynamic critical incident, you know, you might be conditioning yourself to bring that gun up and sit there and then bring it back. It sounds highly unlikely, but when you're faced with that type of a scenario and the need to shoot out of self-defense, you revert to your level of training. So you don't want to condition your body to do things that could potentially get you hurt or killed later on down the road. So consider that too. I have high amount of respect for that theory. That's why I've peeled back a little bit on my dry fire training. But it's something to keep in mind. If you disagree, you disagree. You know, we can maybe discuss it later on or something like that. Different video. But addressing dry fire, I hope this really helped, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this video around. These training videos seem to be well received by you guys. Help us kick the word out. You know, if we can bring you guys good tips on anything shooting related or gear related or something, we're happy to bring some training videos your way. Thanks for watching, guys. We never quit.